career.
One of the best
One
news.
of the best news.
Yeah.
So tell us more about that. Then we get into your other views on it.
Well, this letter is in response to a petition I wrote to the president in April this year, and it mentions five items I listed and suggested to the president in my petition. And the first one was the fact that the contract between the YE and Zoomlion had expired, and that contract is fraught with corruption and mismanagement. So I suggested that it shouldn't be renewed. It says the contract between the Youth Employment Agency and Zoomlion Ghana Limited has expired and will not be renewed. This contract has been running since 2006. Next year will be 20 years. Then audit of payments and claims, because I have evidence that Zoomlion cannot justify the 45,000 it presents every month for payment.
Okay, you're suggesting that the number isn't actually 45,000.
No.
It's been inflated.
Yes.
Okay.
And if anybody is listening from Zoomlion, they can produce a letter that, or any document or any authorization that asks them to employ beyond 37,700 people as of the time the JIDA contract was suspended after the 2013 investigation.
Hold on a minute. So the key number here is that they were expected to employ what, 37,000?
That was a number on the payroll.
That was a number on the payroll.
On the payroll.
Okay.
Between the ministry and Zoomlion. And the contract, all contracts were suspended in 2013. So by May 2013, the number, which was even the number used for the invoices, was 37,700. Later on, Zoomlion comes back to say from April 2013, the number was 45,000. And the only reference Zoomlion made in its justification was that the Minister of Local Government had written to the District Assembly's Common Fund suggesting an increment in the number, and this was something the Parliamentary Select Committee had recommended. But note, the Local Government Ministry and the District Assembly Common Fund have never been parties to this contract. At the time, UIA was under the Youth Employment Agency. And even when they said there was a suggestion for the increment, within 5 or 6 days, the number jumped from 37,000 to 45,000. The question is, who recruited within that period when the program was suspended? And the people who were in charge are alive. Elvis Efiankra, he was in charge of that ministry till 2014 or so.
Yeah.
You can call him and ask him whether he increased the numbers. So these are substantial matters that I suggested to the president that audit needed to be done.
Okay.
Because we have paid hundreds of millions to this company. And then NDC NPP officials in the past have connived to do this. So if the hairs are to roll, this is what is going to happen. So on the audit of payments and claims, the president said all payments made to Zoomlion after the contract's expiration will be thoroughly audited. No further payments will be authorized without proper verification, and any unauthorized payments will be recovered.
Okay. Now, Manasseh, let me just find this out from you, because, and I've followed this conversation, and I followed your activism even on social media, because I think last year the contract expired.
Yes.
Which month did it expire last year?
September.
September.
Yes.
Was it renewed last year, September?
No.
So from September last year
Yes.
till now, Zoomlion has been working without a contract.
Yes. Sometimes I think Zoomlion's case is very interesting. This is even the shortest period. From 2013 to 2017, Zoomlion had no contract with the state. Yes, 2013 to 2017. But they paid. They just would come and ratify it.
So the president is talking about, audit.
Yes.
How do we know the work that Zoomlion has done over the period?
Nobody knows. And there are letters. The immediate past CEO of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly actually wrote to the YEA saying that on paper we are supposed to have some sweepers from Zoomlion working in our metropolis. We cannot see them. Can you give me a list of the people? Then YEA says, we don't even know the number. We don't know the people. Meanwhile, the contract is such that YEA is supposed to recruit for Zoomlion. Then also, you look at the payments. YEA even said they couldn't certify the numbers Zoomlion was presenting. But they were still paying.
Manasseh, I want to establish something. So, there was a contract signed in 2011, which contract expired in February 2013.
13 years.
Was it renewed after the initial expiration in February 2013?
It was never renewed.
And then there was a talk of another cancellation of the contract recently.
Yes.
Right.
So that contract was never renewed until 2017 when MPP came.
Okay.
And they said, well, the company had been working, so let's allow 2 years to expire. Then, after that, we'll subject it to competitive tendering, and we're going to bring
after it expired in 2013,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And the big issue of the 400 million Ghana cedis to be paid them, the District Assembly's Common Fund. I remember back then, the amount being paid the company was 500 cedis, and 100 cedis was going to the workers.
Exactly.
400 was for management and other things. After it expired, it wasn't renewed, but the company kept on working, and they got paid for the work they were doing without a contract. Is that the situation?
Yes, and this was the period that the numbers were inflated. And so the ratification was done later, and then I think 2019 a new contract was signed, which expired in 2022. Then a new one was signed, expired in 2024. The contract has always been 2 years, subject to renewal since it started in 2006.
And on record, you do not know the number of people this business of cleaning our cities has engaged since 2011?
No. The YEA, which is in charge of this project, have even stated that they do not know. These are in their minutes, and then I have letters to that effect.
So YEA itself doesn't know?
No.
So how does it pay an entity?
Kodria,
how does it pay when it's not aware?
Justin Kodria Frimpong, who is the current MPP General Secretary, held a press conference and said, look, when we did our head count, we realized that some people were on the payroll who didn't even have our appointment letters. But even that, we're able to get only 38,000, not the 45,000 Zoomlion presents for payment. This is on record. He said it. There are videos of it.
Yes, I remember that.
And Justin Kodria can confirm what I'm saying. But the question is, why would you, government officials, write check to pay somebody who comes to say, I have 45,000 people. The assemblies where these people are supposed to work, the assemblies are not seeing them. But you pay. And not only do they pay, but they pay interest on arrears. So if you owe Zoomlion for 3 months and you don't pay, they present their invoice and you don't pay within 3 months, you pay interest. So last year they paid interest of 90 million Ghana cedis.
Manasseh, hold on 1 minute for me. Let me say that ordinarily the BBC News, brought to us by Fidelity Bank, Believe with us, will resume regular service on Monday. So the BBC News, those would have been time for the BBC News, brought to us by Fidelity Bank, Believe with us. Yes, continue. You're making a point.
Yes, so a lot of things have gone wrong with this contract. It's not only about the non-performance, it's not only about the paltry amount that is paid, but this contract has been a source of fleecing, ripping of the state. And I have spoken to every YEA CEO since Abuga Pele. I've sat down and spoken with some. I'm yet to meet Basintale in person, but when he was appointed, I had an extensive conversation with him. And within the period, I have sources within who give me information, who give me documents. So I have everything concerning this contract.
Now, I listened to Top Story, and yesterday, when Brace asked about prosecution, you said you are skeptical about prosecution because of the involvement of both sides. But somebody would say, if wrong has been committed, Manasseh, why don't we take them on?
Well, that is what should have been done. In November 2016, the MPP held a press conference and said the Zoomlion contract, which has been discontinued now, was fraudulent, and that the Mahama administration was conniving with Zoomlion to defraud Ghanaians. This was November 17, 2016. MPP wins the election. That was after when I did my robbing the Assembly's investigation. The Attorney General, Gloria Kufu, when part 1 of the story aired, she called and said, I should assist the police to do the investigation. That same day, she made me meet then DCOP Mamiti Wadodankwa and then another senior CID official. I volunteered to help the financial forensic unit of the Ghana Police Service to conduct an investigation, built a docket, and we briefed then Gloria Kufu, Godfrey Dami, who was deputy, and then Joseph Penka. They used to have some meetings at Best Western Premier with all the prosecutors. I was there to brief them. I was at the AG department to do further works. We built a docket. They didn't prosecute. And it isn't because there wasn't information. Over 200 million cedis was paid for fumigation. When I went round, the assemblies where the fumigation was supposed to take place, they didn't know about it. The police went round.
The assemblies didn't know about the fumigation.
They didn't know about the fumigation.
So who supervised the fumigation?
So we asked, and then Zoomlion's lawyers wrote a letter. I think they were represented by lawyer Kwame Jan. They wrote a letter on a yellow sheet because I was helping the police. So I saw every evidence that came, and they said the contract didn't require anybody to supervise them.
Oh.
So the Ministry of Local Government, 200 million cedis was paid. No single person at the Ministry of Local Government could say we saw the work that we supervised.
When you sign a contract where payment is involved, you must first of all confirm that the work for which you are paying has been done.
Yes.
Number one, you must confirm there is a need for the work to be done. The work has been done and done well before you pay.
So how
and the number one point you raise is very important because there wasn't the need, because there were already 2 existing fumigation contracts. One paid by every assembly every quarter since 2009. Another paid through the National Health Insurance Levy. We say nurses are striking, we don't have money. Zoomlion is taking money from National Health Insurance.
How much?
When Domelevo did the audit, it was 184 million cedis that had been paid to Zoomlion from National Health Insurance for fumigation. So these 2 fumigations were already happening.
Manasseh, hold on. Since you are talking about fumigation, I want to bring another angle. You know the ESLA account, right?
Yes.
There's a sanitation and pollution account within ESLA.
Yeah.
And within that, there is money for air quality and pollution, design and construction and re-engineering of solid waste and disposal facilities, construction of sanitation facilities, support for disinfestation, disinfection and fumigation, and support for maintenance and management of major landfill sites, and treatment plants. Since 2016, we have paid 1.5 billion Ghana cedis for these activities. So this sanitation fumigation component here, is it different from the fumigation you are talking about, or possibly these funds were given to NHI and the other assemblies?
No, the NHI is different. The assemblies one is paid from District Assemblies Common Fund.
So the ESLA is also different?
Different. So when I talk about Zoomlion, people don't get it. There are a few people who think that maybe I hate the company. But this company and its sister companies are involved in serious crimes against this country, and they don't come with guns. They are politicians, NDC and PP people who sit down, government officials who sit down and cook these deals. For instance, there was this Lavender Hill project that the government paid 95 million cedis to Zoomlion to construct. The Auditor General flagged it and said, this is a private company. The government has no shares in it, so why do we pay this? Retrieve the money. That didn't happen.
What was the source of that particular payment for the Lavender Hill?
I don't know the source, but what I know is that they instituted some pollution and whatever sanitation levy.
Yes, then it's possibly the ESLA levies I'm talking about, which we
Then-
spent 1.5 billion so far.
Then the Auditor General says, go and take the 95 million you pay to Zoomlion because it doesn't deserve it. They didn't do that. They rather paid 150 million cedis more from this pollution levy. When we wrote at the fourth estate at the time, we did a right to information request to the finance ministry, and they had paid 156 million more. Back to this fumigation contract I'm talking about. These areas were already covered.
Which the president says is going to look into.
Yes, there are many. It's not just one fumigation contract, but the over 200 million cedis that I said was paid. No work could be said to be done. Nobody saw the work done. In fact, one of the companies, Meridian Waste Management Services Limited, one of the Zoomlion companies, got this contract in June 2015. But do you know when the company was registered?
Tell me.
30th September 2015.
So how did they get a contract when it was not registered?
The company didn't exist. So during the investigation, the police asked them, they claim, oh, there was a change of name. When they wrote to the Registrar General, they said there wasn't any such change of names. The managing director of that company had left Zoomlion. He was called by the police. He testified that the contract didn't exist at the time. So these are pieces of evidence. The Shraj did some investigation. There's another contract called Sanitation Improvement Package with the assemblies. Shraj investigated and found out that even before Zoomlion started the work, the company was being paid. So he sent the report to the Attorney General, and the money was to be recovered, and the whistleblower was to get 10% of that money. The whistleblowers from the Tunnel South district of the then Bunahafo region. I don't know where it falls now.
No, it's a half of it.
Yes. And then nothing was done about it. So when I say I'm skeptical, I know what I'm talking about.
And then in that same vein, because there's the whole conversation about decentralizing this. I've heard you have said that we don't need, the assemblies can manage this on their own when it comes to the sweepers. Kojo and I have had a lot of conversation about even how you could use property rates. But I actually think that the assemblies must not pay for sweeping. My belief is that the zoning for waste management companies, part of that money be used to take care of whichever streets they're on.
Yeah.
So if you come to my area, for instance, that's always been my position. If you come to say Fanofa Street, the company that is collecting waste within this area, it should be the responsibility of that company as part of its collection, because we will pay to take care of this road. The assembly must not look for additional funds to be sweeping this. So the question is, when we say we should go into decentralized competitive bidding, based on what you know, how sure are we that there wouldn't be more companies from one stock bidding and winning all of these?
Well, when I did my investigation in 2017, Zoomlion had 25 companies in sanitation alone.
25?
Yes,
Okay.
companies. The Jospon Group, yes, in sanitation alone. All the companies I counted at the time from the Jospon Group were about 82. And since then, more companies have been added to the stock. So it is possible this fumigation contract I'm talking about, because Zoomlion was already doing separate fumigation contract, they single sourced it to 11 separate companies, and all the 11 companies were the Jospon Group. And then talking about these assemblies and then decentralization of corruption and all of that, look, the assemblies have the capacity to do these works. There used to be this Saman concept where we had sanitary inspectors. They would ensure that if you are Joy FM and your frontage was dirty, you couldn't allow it to be there thinking that someone would come and then sweep. They were all over. You couldn't sell in the market and expose your food. When we're home, our parents said, look, if you don't pick this rubbish and this and some people come, I'll use your school fees to pay the court fines and you'll be at home. They were dreaded. They were enforcing the bylaws. How did the Saman concept collapse? Zoomlion came in and they said Zoomlion should take over. And they awarded a contract titled, or they called it, Sanitation Guards. And that too, just like the sweepers, it will take about 500, 600, pay them 100 cedis. That collapsed. So the assembly system has been rendered dysfunctional because mainly of one company, the Jospon Group. Since in time immemorial, they would buy this equipment, the construction equipment, and all of a sudden the assemblies have the capacity to construct road. They'll take the money from the common fund. When they sweep that contract, the money is taken from the common fund. When they sweep and then they are collecting it, there's another contract, sanitation improvement package. It is also taken from the common fund. Then there are fumigation contracts taken from the common fund. So at the end of the day, what goes to the assembly is very minimal.
Okay.
Winston, I'm looking at a lot of data, right, on various sanitation projects and payments for sanitation. And I want to know if Manasseh has done work on putting all these together to let us know the bulk that has been spent so far. So from ESLA levies alone, since 2016, 1.5 billion Ghana cedis has been spent on maintaining waste treatment, landfill sites, engineering solid waste and disposal facilities, and all that. Plus air quality improvement, there's 100 million Ghana cedis that has been spent on that. Now, if you look at the District Assembly's Common Fund spending, since 2015, between 2015 and 2022, there was a sanitation improvement package,
Yes.
which took 369 million Ghana cedis.
All went to Zoomlion.
There was a fumigation package, which took 416 million Ghana cedis.
All went to Zoomlion.
So, how coordinated are these projects to ensure that the target of making Ghana the cleanest city is being met? And have you been able to put all these together since maybe the past 10 years for us to get a total picture of the amount you spent on sanitation in this country?
It's very difficult to put them together because some are even not captured. When you look at COVID-19's spending during the expenditure that the Auditor General captured, the fumigation component that was captured in that audit report was only 95 million cedis.
Okay.
Being the second phase of the fumigation that was done by the Ministry of Education. But I have evidence that we may have spent up to 700 million.
700 million?
Million, yes, on that project. And in the coming days, I'm putting things together. I've written to the audit service. They have responded. I'm putting the information together. So every ministry appears to be doing some of these procurements. Monies are paid from Ministry of Finance, monies are paid from local government, monies are paid from common fund. Sometimes they institute a tax, and then all the tax revenue from that tax goes to one company in the name of sanitation. So it is very difficult. Sometimes you just chance upon something, somebody gives it to you and say about why is this ministry also awarding sanitation contracts?
Manasseh, this is an ongoing conversation. We're not done yet. Would reach out to you again, but it's great having you join us here on the Super Morning Show. Of course, you're home, so whenever you feel like you can pass by.
Well, I must say that this is where this Zoomlion thing started.
Yeah.
And the multimedia group and Joy FM has been, I can say, the only media house that has been committed to doing these stories. Except for one occasion, all the stories I've done were used here. And if you look at all the newspapers, you don't see this Zoomlion story here. It's not for nothing that all the newspapers are silent. In 2017, even the GJA issued a statement against me when I did a story that resulted in the cancellation of a $74 million contract awarded to Zoomlion. And the only other media house that attempted, or somebody attempted to do a story against Jospon, Samuel Ajiman, formerly of Metro TV. They said he shouldn't do the story. He put it on online, and at the time, Kojo and others at CTFM picked it up, and that's how the Suba story came up. Then he left journalism. So I must say that when it comes to stories of this nature, not many media houses are able to do it, and it's perhaps the reason it's taken 12 years of being on this case for someone to begin to hear.
Well, I have some advice for you, may I?
Advice is good.
I've been a part of a petition to the presidency before. You always get a response, mostly, but sometimes it's the follow-up that matters. So with this response coming in, don't sleep on it. You should be writing consistently, following up consistently, because people may go to sleep and the reviews, the audits and everything may never happen.
Exactly. I said same in an interview yesterday, because I know too well about the tentacles of Zoomlion and the Jospon Group, and I know too well how some people are prepared to award these shady deals, and they will do anything to revive them. So those who are listening shouldn't say, "Oh, but Manasseh, you got what you want. Why don't you stop?" We will not stop until
for me,
the right thing
it's
is done.
important that the review and the audit is done, because there are a lot of allegations that have been made, and Ghanaians need the truth established, so that if the allegations are false allegations, a Ghanaian conglomerate which is playing in a certain place can continue to do their work, because we pray for big institutions from Ghana to grow and take control of Africa.
Exactly. And I'm prepared to support any audit if I'm called anywhere to bring evidence or document. OSP, IYOKO, Attorney General, Office of the President, I'm prepared to come and present documents. And if my documents are false, tell the whole world that what Manasseh said is wrong, it's false. I'm prepared to.
Thank you very much, Manasseh. Stay with us.